Look, this isn't unclear to me. High estrogen destroys libido and erections on TRT, and DHT is your redemption. Estrogen receptor activation. I'm going to talk about the stuff that no one is talking about regarding this to really hammer home the point that you've got to have estrogen in your range. Estrogen receptor activation can directly inhibit androgen receptor mediated gene transcription. In the breast cancer studies, DHT blocks estrogenic gene activation and reduces estrogen receptor alpha transactivation. That's it going into the cell and provoking a genetic response. DHT blocks that. Like little things that the literature is really clear on. Elevated estrogen can actively suppress androgen receptor activity, even if testosterone is high. So the thing that bothers me is there's a lot of information out there guiding people to effectively sabotage their protocols. And a lot of it is the stuff that's just making dose recommendations and saying, who cares about the metabolites? Yeah, who cares? Yeah. Who cares? Actually, they fucking drive everything. I am here to give nothing but truth. The DHT to estrogen ratio and the DHT estrogen balance is the critical balance you need for sexual function and overall well-being on TRT. And I'm going to break it down from a scientific perspective, each point, so that you can walk away knowing what you need to do to dial in on TRT. Let's go. All right, before we start the video, look, Cortex Labs, which is my company that's now 10 years deep, is a TRT guide in sexual dysfunction resolution and performance optimization. Got a range of different products relative to TRT. The most primary of them is coaching, one-on-one coaching with me, specifically for fixing libido and erection issues on TRT, on HRT, on cycle, from hair loss drugs. The one-on-one coaching packages, which is me in your corner, full protocol architecture, are 50% off. You're saving thousands right now. There's 10 slots open. The code is on the screen and down in the description. Now is the time to book. Let's go. Source list, any anabolic you can think of, including high potency DHT, which a lot of people need in their protocol. Well, you can get it. Your clinic isn't going to have 98% of this stuff. 30% off. Code is source30. It's on the screen or down the description of this video. If you need to master libido and erections on Cypionate, which is hard to do, I created an instructional video course that's an hour long to teach you how to do. You can get that down below as well. Here's the deal. I think I'm going to start off by making one primary statement to illustrate how you should think about estrogen and DHT relative to sexual function on TRT. Are you ready? Estrogen and DHT are the tug of war for libido and erections with males that are on testosterone replacement therapy. Too much estrogen is killing your erections. Adequate DHT can reverse some of that, but if the estrogen is too high, it's not going to fix all of it. Estrogen needs to be in your sex-specific zone. That ranges usually 20 to 35 picograms per milliliter, no matter how high your testosterone is. And then you have to have enough DHT with functional testicles. That's the best way to get the steel rods, automatic, spontaneous erections, nocturnals, morning erections, erections that are great for penetrative sex, sensation, libido, climax, and the whole system working well. All right, let's talk about a couple things right off the bat. As I alluded to earlier, it's actually estrogen receptor beta. It can, under certain conditions, directly interact with the androgen receptor, preventing androgen-driven gene transcription. This occurs even in androgen receptor positive cells. The breast cancer studies are actually super clear. Whether it's the studies where you put transdermal DHT on your chest and reduce gynecomastia, it's pretty definitive that DHT itself blocks estrogenic gene activation. And it reduces estrogen receptor transactivation. It basically kills the gene expression of estrogen activity, like right at the root. Right when estrogen receptors are bound to, they can still be bound to, but DHT blocks all the gene expression thereafter, so you almost have a signal terminated kind of situation. That's how important DHT is in your protocol. Let's talk about DHT and its binding affinity to the ARs, which creates this gene expression, which creates the androgenic sexual enhancing effects at the penile tissue and in the brain. DHT's receptor off rate, meaning how long it takes to disassociate or stop binding to and provoking gene expression to the androgen receptor, is 5 times stronger than testosterone itself. I mean, dihydrotestosterone is fucking super testosterone for the sex organs and the brain. DHT is so important that when you look through the literature on this, it's clear that a lack of DHT causes a regulated form of cell death in the endothelium of the penis. This is known as pheropoptosis. Okay, low androgens, low DHT itself causes this. And the cause of that is reduced nitric oxide activity and impaired endothelial nitric oxide synthase activity. What's the layman takeaway or the implication? Without enough circulating DHT, penile tissue degrades. This is a fact, even with normal systemic testosterone levels. This is why the guys with PFS, that have taken hair loss drugs have 700, 800 total testosterone. They can get it up super substantially, but they've been starved of DHT and they got degradation of all the internal blood flow systems that facilitate erections. Let's go back to estrogen for a second. Despite whether or not you have like ultra high testosterone and even ultra high dihydrotestosterone, estradiol, via inhibiting some of the androgen receptor driven gene activation and overstimulating a group of cells in your pituitary called lactotropes, which activation is dependent on dopamine binding to the D2 receptors, which creates an overage or an overstimulation, even if you're still under range, a temporary overstimulation of prolactin. Prolactin is the almighty dick killer, my friends. What do you think happens if you're sitting at 8 nanograms per milliliter of prolactin, but then it jumps up to 18? Well, the same thing that happens after you climax, and then you have ED and a lack of libido, otherwise known as post-nut clarity, and like when you come, you can't get it up. That's prolactin. Temporary surges of prolactin inhibit sexual function. Estrogen derives that directly. If you want to understand that, go scour the prolactinoma clinical research, where you've got pituitary tumors that secrete prolactin, which estrogen fucking make worse. Of course they do, because estrogen stimulates prolactin release. And you know what that does? Inhibits dopaminergic libido centers of the brain. Here's the critical part. If you're not architecting your TRT protocol super intelligently, like with the knowledge of the person that's executed the 10,000 hour rule studying this and working with people, hopefully, you could devise a protocol or just be going along with a clinic suggested protocol, or a protocol that you might have heard somewhere on Reddit, which does this. You have exogenous test, it aromatizes into estradiol, spikes E2, but your testosterone doesn't efficiently convert to enough DHT. Sometimes this can happen with injections. That seems super clear. That's because that testosterone might not be interacting with local 5-alpha reductase enzymes, which would then convert, that test to DHT in the tissues, in the penile tissue, specifically the corpus cavernosa, where it really matters for erections and blood flow. But if that's not happening, you're going to have sexual dysfunction. The critical place you do not want to be in is overactivation of estrogen and estrogen receptors, underfunctioning of DHT, and then guess what? Estrogen gets the upper hand. Then you've got androgen receptor downregulation and a poor sexual response. This is why I've been harping on using transdermal DHT in testosterone protocols if you need a little more DHT, or employing the strategy of using a little bit of low concentration testosterone cream that's applied transscrotally on top of a lower dose injection protocol, so that you have enough DHT to offset that while hopefully estrogen is still in range. That's really where you maximize sexual function on TRT. Given all of this information, the question really becomes, how do you fix the imbalance? Because again, estrogen and DHT are playing a tug of war for your sexual function, right? If estrogen is dominating, you're going to have ED and a poor libido. So you really need to look at, when looking at TRT, because a lot of people think about this wrong, they just like load up on testosterone. Testosterone is the important thing. You need to look at DHT optimization in your protocol. And here's one way with one protocol and one example for how you could do that. All right, number one, if you're on a high dose of testosterone, call it 150 milligrams or above. This is an aromatizable substrate, an aromatizable androgen. Lower the aromatizable androgen. Say you're on test prop at 40 milligrams a day. Reduce that to 15 to 25 milligrams a day. On top of that, you add topical DHT, again, the 20% stuff that's in source list. You apply 5 milligrams transscrotally, which is a very low dose, but enough of a dose to make a difference every day or every other day. Your goal being E2 in the blood at 20 to 35 picograms per milliliter, and DHT in the high normal range, or slightly supraphysiologic. Both of those are acceptable. Alternatively, as I've been talking about, you can employ your 15 to 25 milligrams of test prop, which is likely to land the E2 in a reasonable place, and then just add small concentrations of the lower concentration 100 milligram per milliliter testosterone cream transcrotally every day. Then again, you've got the estrogen right around the Goldilocks zone, but you're adding more DHT. DHT optimization in your protocol. This is what we're talking about here. You want to be conscious of that always. In that protocol, you've got to have intratesticular support. It's not just about the DHA, the pregnenolone, all the several neurosteroids that come from that affect libido, affect GABA, allopregnanolone, pregnenolone derivatives. It's also about, if you're using HCG, which I think most people should, that's on TRT, this restores intratesticular 5-alpha reductase activity. This is not something that you want to go without, because more intratesticular DHT feeds the sex organs for sensation, for climax, for libido, for load volume, for pleasure, for all of it. Now look, the web is riddled with bullshit. There's a lot of people that say you could take, natural DHT facilitators like zinc, creatine, forskolin is one of them. Oh, I guess we'd all just take forskolin and have double-digit fucking DHT. Boron, all this stuff, but it's all nonsense. These compounds have other mechanisms too. Zinc at high concentrations can inhibit estradiol too much, which you don't want. You don't want it to be blocked substantially, and it could also inhibit 5-alpha reductase enzymes. Zinc is not your answer to increase DHT. Creatine, there's literally one study showing that it potentially could increase DHT. We don't really have a substantial amount. We don't have something definitive. We have nothing. And people sometimes take creatine and it gives them sexual dysfunction. So it's out of the picture. Boron in the studies is so confusing because in some instances it's raising estradiol, and in other instances it's lowering estradiol. If it isn't definitive, leave it the fuck out of the protocol. What I'm trying to get around, and forskolin, who knows? Who knows about forskolin? Like forskolin, really? If it increased DHT is some substantial effect, like amounts, us biohackers would be using it for DHT. I've taken many doses of forskolin over the years in a nootropics contest, and no, it didn't improve sexual function. Bottom line of what I'm trying to get at in this whole idea of estrogen and DHT play a tug of war for your sexual function, and DHT optimization should being the center point of your focus in a TRT protocol is you got to use transdermal DHT, you've got to use proviron, you've got to use DHT derivatives, or you've got to use testosterone cream to boost DHT and optimize it on top of what, should be and usually works well if it is an injection protocol of a dose that keeps estrogen in range. Look, if you're on TRT and your libido is dead, erections are soft or absent, or even half erection. You get that a lot of times with people that just don't have the right DHT to estrogen balance. Climaxes feel numb. Sensation is terrible. It's likely not the testosterone. Testosterone is for the muscles, boys. Okay? That's what that's for. It's your estrogen to DHT balance being heavily in favor disproportionately of estradiol versus DHT. That will crush everybody's sexual function. Everybody's, eventually. DHT will always save the day if it's in the right concentrations, which takes dialing in. This is your responsibility here. It isn't going to necessarily be easy. That's why people like me exist. But the estrogen matters being in your sex-specific zone so much that you can't just load high doses and have tons of DHT with estrogen out of your sex-specific zone, because then still, you probably have high libido because you have high DHT, but your dick isn't going to work. You don't want the prolactin surges. You don't want the suppression of androgen receptor-driven gene activation via estrogen. You don't want estrogen inhibiting dopaminergic firing in the libido centers of the brain, which it does. You want the DHT to optimize the lining of the blood vessels, the health of the lining of the blood vessels in the penis. And frankly, without that good balance, you're effectively in a place where you've got penile tissue degradation. Take heed to my instructions. This is not rocket science, people. Estrogen in the sex-specific zone, high enough DHT, functional testicles, add-ons if you need them. Some people do really well with DHEA. Not many people do well with pregnenolone, by the way. The right doses of everything, the right ancillaries. Sometimes the TRT protocol is going to be a little convoluted. Do you care? As long as you've got teenage-style sexual function? That's what I have. That's what my clients have. That's what I want you guys to be able to achieve. Hope this has been useful. Look, a lot of this is complicated. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've dialed in thousands of people, specifically around sexual function. That's 95% of the stuff that I get via coaching. Right now, one-on-one packages with me where I'm in your corner doing full protocol architecture for some of the biggest problems relative to libido and erection quality on TRT, from hair loss drugs, on cycles, on whatever HRT protocol you ended up on that you just can't dial in. I'm the specialist in this, and right now booking me for a one-on-one package where I'm in your corner and we're communicating frequently is 50% off. I've never done a 50% off special on coaching. I've booked a lot, but there's 10 slots open. There's 10 slots, and they're booking pretty quickly. I have 5 to 10 every 7 days. If you need to get on board with coaching with me, please go to livecortex.com, punch in the code coach discount. It will save thousands of dollars off the total. You're going to see some of the packages you've been eyeing for coaching with me regarding TRT and sexual function drop in thousands of dollars in the price. You get to have your cake and eat it too. I'm in your corner, and it's way cheaper right now. Book livecortex.com. You and I will be on the fact-finding call as soon as tomorrow, and after that, brother, fucking Geronimo. Source list, 30% off right now. Code is on the screen. Code is on the screen. Again, any anabolic you can think of, including high-potency DHT. Sometimes you have to circumvent the clinic, boys. Sometimes you have to. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff that you can't even get prescribed in the States. There are clinics that, because they're too busy, they're not really focused on helping you dial in. If you have to go at it alone, at least have the ammunition. At least have the weapons. Source list down below, livecortex.com. If you need to dial in on Cypionate for libido and erections, get the Mastering Testosterone Cypionate video course. That is what I created it for. It works. All right, I greatly appreciate how long you guys have been. Thanks for watching, because I'm just trying to get out this bed. Like the video. Can't even think. Hold on. What is wrong with this chair? God. Damn it. Sorry. Yeah, please like the video, boys. It makes a huge difference. And sub to the channel. We're rapidly growing, and sorry. I guess I should be talking into the mic. Let me just grab it. Sorry, boys. What? Give me this. God, I'm just the video. We're done here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for watching the video. Means a lot. Yeah, seriously, like the video. Makes a huge difference. Like the video, bro. Just the like button. Takes you a second. Takes you a second. Please do it. Please do it. Otherwise, please subscribe. We are one of the fastest growing TRT communities on the internet, and we talk about this stuff from a scientific perspective based on years of experience. You want to get the truth? Sub to the channel. Stay here. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. More content coming tomorrow. And I'll talk to you boys in the next one.